Hello, everyone, and welcome to this evening's scoping meeting. We're grateful you could join today. We're going to give it a few moments as folks join us tonight. Again, we appreciate you being with us this evening. All right, welcome, folks. I'm going to give it just a couple moments as people are joining us this evening. We're glad you're here with us. I'm going to give it a moment as folks continue to join. Okay, we're going to get started this evening. My name is Jenna Tourget. I'll be your facilitator for tonight's meeting. As we get started, I wanted to welcome Victor to introduce our Spanish interpretation channel. Victor, over to you.
Thank you so much, Jenna. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and give you instructions in English, and then I'll go ahead and give them in Spanish. This meeting will be interpreted in Spanish and American Sign Language. To access the audio channel, you'll have to click on the interpret button, which will be a globe or a world icon at the bottom of your taskbar on this Zoom platform. Then a menu will appear and you'll be able to select your language. Muy buenas noches, gracias por estar aquí. Esta reunión será totalmente interpretada en el español y lengua de signos americana. Para acceder al canal de audio, usted tendrá que hacer clic en lo que es el botón de interpretación, que será un icono de un globo, es decir, un mundo en la barra de tareas de esta plataforma de Zoom. Después de eso, usted aparecerá un menú y entonces usted podrá seleccionar su idioma. Thank you. Gracias.
Wonderful. Thank you, Victor, and thank you, Kirk. As we begin the meeting tonight, Victor gave an explanation of how to join the interpretation channel. In Spanish, we'd ask folks this evening that no matter what language you speak, whether English or Spanish tonight, if you can join an interpretation channel, so you can also click at the bottom of your screen on interpretation, join English, or join Spanish. If you join the English channel and there's a public comment or question in Spanish, you can hear that question interpreted in English. So we appreciate folks taking that extra step to join the English channel. Along with ASL interpretation, we will also have closed captioning that can be found at the bottom of your screen if you wish to use closed captioning this evening. We are here to provide technical support as well. If you encounter any difficulties tonight, we have Eunice Lee, who is able to support. You can use the chat for technical assistance only, please, this evening. And if you are participating by phone and you do have technical assistance needed, you can dial *9 and we will connect with you to provide technical assistance. If you are in the Spanish interpretation channel, you can message Genesis Rodriguez for technical support as well. I'm going to do a brief overview of what environmental review is before we get started this evening. So the environmental review process will help understand Pure Water Southern California's potential impacts to our communities and to our environment. The first part of the environmental review process is the scoping phase. So we are here today in the scoping phase, and during scoping, communities help to identify environmental issues, questions, and ideas to study. I'd now like to turn it over to Rupam Soni, the Outreach Lead for Pure Water Southern California, to provide our welcome this evening. Rutham,
Great.
over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jenna. I want to just thank all of you this evening for joining us today. We know you could have been many different places, and we're so pleased that you're here today at our first public scoping meeting for Pure Water Southern California. This program is a partnership between the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California and the Los Angeles County Sanitation Districts to develop a new sustainable water supply for our region. We appreciate you taking the time to learn more about this important program and especially to provide your input and feedback. Your perspectives really matter during this environmental review period. We want to hear from you on your ideas, your thoughts, your concerns as we develop a draft environmental impact report. We hope that you provide comment today. You're welcome to provide comment anytime during our public scoping period, which ends on November 14th. But this isn't your only opportunity to provide input. We will also be releasing a draft environmental impact report sometime next year, and there'll be another public comment period associated with that. So with that, we look forward to hearing from you, and thank you again for being here. Back to you, Jenna.
Thank you, Rupam. I want to give a brief overview of what you can expect for this evening. So this evening, you can expect to get information about Pure Water Southern California and the environmental impact report process. We'll have time for questions and answers, and I'll describe that process in a few moments. You can also provide your scoping comments verbally and learn about other ways in which you can provide comments. So our meeting structure tonight will follow pretty closely these objectives. So we'll have the introduction of Pure Water Southern California. We'll have a brief presentation on the environmental impact report and the scoping process. I mentioned the time for Q&A. As you're thinking of questions, you can enter them in the question and answer pod, and I'll provide some instructions for that in a few minutes as well. And then we'll have time this evening for oral scoping comments. I do want to note that only comments provided verbally during the scoping comments portion of this agenda will be documented as scoping comments for consideration in the environmental review process. So we will have the time for questions and answers, but those questions that come in won't be documented in the environmental review process as scoping comments. So we'd encourage you to save your scoping comments to the end of the meeting during the scoping comment process. And with that, I'd like to turn this presentation over to Bruce Chalmers, the Program Manager for Pure Water Southern California. So Bruce, over to you.
Thank you, Jenna. Hi, everyone. I'm the Program Manager for Metropolitan's Pure Water Southern California program, and we're going to give you an overview of what our plans are. Next slide. Metropolitan is the nation's largest wholesaler of water. Our service area covers approximately 5,200 square miles in 6 counties from Ventura to the Mexican border. This area has about 19 million people, and our agency is made up of 26 public member agencies. We import water from Northern California as well as the Colorado River, and we also invest in local projects and conservation. The water we supply supports a regional economy of over $1 billion. Next slide. Our partner is the Los Angeles County Sanitation Districts. Their job is to collect and treat sewage from their 5.6 million customers. They're made up of 24 special districts and have over 1,400 miles of sewers and 11 wastewater treatment plants, all in LA County, as shown in this figure. Next slide. As everyone probably has heard, the West and California in particular is experiencing a severe drought, and our reservoirs are at historic low levels. You can see Oroville on the left hit a record low level this year, as did Lake Mead and Lake Powell on the Colorado River. Lake Mead is at the lowest level since it was filled. The years from 2019 to 2022 are the three driest years on record. At the same time, the Colorado River is experiencing a long-term drought as well. Next slide. And that brings us to the Pure Water Southern California program. Our program will take used water, often called wastewater, from homes, businesses, and industries in LA County and convey that to LA County's Joint Water Pollution Control Plant in the city of Carson. There will be cleaned and sent next door to an advanced water treatment facility constructed by Metropolitan. This purified water will then be conveyed up to 60 miles of pipeline to groundwater basins, industry, and Metropolitan's potable water treatment plants. This purified water will be a new climate resilient source of water for Southern California. Next slide. With a capacity to produce about 150 million gallons per day, it will have produce enough water for about 1.5 million people. Our program has many benefits. It will reduce our dependence on imported water supplies. It will increase our reliability during seismic events on the San Andreas Fault. It will increase Metropolitan's operational flexibility and improve our water quality. And because it's not based on rainfall, our purified water is resilient to climate change. Next slide. This slide gives you an idea of the facilities that will be needed for our program. There will be modifications to the Joint Water Pollution Control Plant in Carson. There will be construction of a new advanced water purification facility next door. And then up to 60 miles of conveyance pipeline shown in this figure as the blue line, which goes from Carson in the southwest to the Irwindale area in the San Gabriel Valley. The dashed circle areas are spreading facilities and locations for injection wells, which will take our purified water and put it into the ground for what we call indirect potable reuse. The brownish line at the top will connect our IPR facilities to Metropolitan's treatment plants in Laverne at the Weymouth plant and to the Deemer plant in Orange County. We will also have facilities to convey the water east into the Three Valleys Water District and the Inland Empire Utilities. Next slide. A program like this has many program partners. We mentioned our wastewater partner, the LA County Sanitation Districts, but we also have 7 member agencies with their logos shown in the middle, as well as our 2 groundwater basin managers and 3 partners on the Colorado River in both Nevada and Arizona. And our other key partners include the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Southern California Edison, and the LA County Public Works. Next slide. Our program schedule is shown in this slide. We are currently in the environmental planning phase, which will be explained in more detail later in this presentation. And it will end in 2024 with approval of our EIR. Afterwards, we will begin construction or design and construction from 2024 to 2031 with startup and operations anticipated for 2032. We would just like to note that because of potential funding from the state and federal government and the impacts from the drought, we are looking at accelerating this timeline to start design prior to 2024 and to have some quantity of water brought online before 2032. And with that, I'll turn it back to Jenna.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bruce. I'd now like to introduce Ana Reyes, the Environmental Planning Lead for Pure Water. So Ana, over to you.
Thank you, Jenna. 1 second. Good evening. Metropolitan and the sanitation districts have initiated the environmental review for the program, which includes compliance with a state law called the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. Metropolitan is the lead agency under CEQA for this program. As Metropolitan and sanitation districts started developing the program, we knew early on that an environmental impact report, or EIR, would be prepared due to the size and potential environmental impacts associated with pure water. As a result, Metropolitan prepared a notice of preparation of an EIR, which kicked off the scoping phase. This is our first scoping meeting in the scoping phase. Next slide. During the scoping phase, the scope and content of the EIR are developed. It provides an opportunity for the public to provide input on the environmental issues they'd like to see evaluated in the EIR, especially with regard to local or community issues in which they have more experience or firsthand knowledge. During this phase, the public can also recommend measures or alternatives to reduce environmental impacts and to be considered in the EIR. A variety of environmental topics will be addressed in the EIR. These include biological and cultural resources, air quality and greenhouse gas emissions, transportation and noise, and the other topics shown on the slide. Next slide. The EIR will provide a detailed analysis of topics that have been identified as having potential environmental impacts. Each topic will analyze direct and indirect impacts of construction and operation of the program. The EIR will also identify feasible mitigation measures and a range of alternatives that could minimize or reduce significant environmental impacts. And finally, the EIR will analyze growth-inducing and cumulative effects. As indicated earlier, we're currently in the scoping phase, which started September 30th and will end November 14th, 2022. Due to the size of the program, we decided to extend the scoping phase to 45 days. The next step after the scoping phase is preparation of a draft EIR. The public will have an opportunity to review the draft EIR and provide comments. Metropolitan will send out a notice of availability of the draft EIR to interested parties and required agencies. Additionally, there will be a link to the draft EIR on Metropolitan's Pure Water website. Comments on the draft EIR will be addressed in the final EIR, and the final EIR is expected to be certified by Metropolitan's Board of Directors in early 2024. For the scoping phase, we've developed a variety of ways for the public to submit comments and provide input. You can mail your comments directly to me at the address shown on the slide. You can email your comments to the address also shown on the slide. You can go to the online comment portal and submit comments directly on the form provided. You can submit verbal comments during this scoping meeting, and you can attend one of several community events and submit your comment card either at the event or mail it in. All this information is also available on the Pure Water website. And finally, please provide the following when you submit your comments: your name and address or an email address. Include Pure Water or Pure Water Southern California in the subject line. Identify environmental issues you would like evaluated in the draft DIR, and provide information and ideas on how to minimize potential environmental impacts. Thank you, and I'll turn it back over to Jenna.
Great, thank you so much, Anna. I would now like to open us up for questions that folks might have on both Bruce and Anna's presentation that was provided and on the scoping process. So you will see at the bottom of your screen, there should be a Zoom Q&A feature. So you can ask questions through that Zoom Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. You could also use the raise hand feature if you'd like to ask a question orally. And phone participants, you can dial *9 to raise and lower your hand, and I'll walk you through the process of unmuting as we get there. Importantly, as I noted before, questions will not be recorded as scoping comments, so we're asking that you save your scoping comments for the next section. So I'm going to give it a moment to see if folks do have questions they'd like to ask, either in the Q&A pod or by raising their hand. So we'll just wait a few moments. Okay, I haven't seen any come in yet, but I'm going to give folks just another minute in case someone is formulating a question that they might have on Bruce or Anna's presentation. Okay, with no questions asked here, I'll pause just another moment and see if we move on to your the scoping comments that might come in. I always like to give another pause because it takes me a while to type in my question. Okay. Well, thank you, Bruce and Anna, for your presentations here. I'm wondering if any folks from Metropolitan have a question about the process or anything that might be clarified for folks. Okay, I did see a question come in. I always like to give it a little time just in case. So the question is, what is the timeline for this project? So I'm going to, I believe, ask Bruce that question.
So as mentioned in the presentation, this is 2022. We're currently in our environmental planning phase. So preparing the EIR, determining the impacts and responding to those. Typically at Metropolitan, we would start preliminary design after CEQA is done, followed by final design, construction, and then operation. Because of the potential for some federal grants and an $80 million grant from the state of California, We're looking to accelerate some of the design and to start it in 2023 rather than in 2024. And Metropolitan allows us to do this because the risk of rework is low. So the program will be online in 2032.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Bruce. Okay. And with that, I will move us on. If there are no more questions here, I will move us on to our scoping process. And I did want to note, if folks did have questions as they might come up while people are asking questions, or even future in the process. Anna mentioned before that you're able to email her. So the website is on the screen here. We'll also put that in the chat as well as the email, and you can also call as well. If you do have additional questions that might not have come up during this meeting this evening. Okay, so on to our scoping comments tonight. So there'll be a couple ways to provide scoping comments throughout the process, and this one is to have the comments given verbally or orally this evening. So if you'd like to provide a comment, you can use the raise hand feature, and I'll call on folks in the order of the queue. If you're a phone participant, you can dial *9 to raise and lower your hand and *6 to mute and unmute. You'll have 2 minutes to provide your comment. And just a note, questions and comments won't be responded to at this meeting tonight, but we will listen. And then also the scoping comments this evening will be incorporated into the draft EIR, the draft environmental impact report. I did want to provide before I open this up for comment this evening that you can also submit your comments by November 14th by email, the online form noted here, and by mail as well if you'd like to use snail mail. And Anna went over the schedule. I just again want to note we are in the scoping phase, so the comment period will close November 14th. And with that, we will open it up for public comment. So if you'd like to use the raise hand icon today, you can do that to enter the queue. And we will set our timer for 2 minutes here. I'll wait to see if there's any raised hands for comments this evening. So I don't see any raised hands, but we want to stay, just as people are joining us throughout the meeting, we'll stay here just to see if there's any comments. So we'll be on for the next few minutes as well, and just wait. I do want to note, and we'll mention this in a moment, there are a couple other scoping meetings as well for folks to provide comments. So if you are just getting familiar and are looking to provide comment or come back and hear this again, we'll also have 2 other opportunities to provide those verbal and oral comments. Okay, again, we'll wait a few more moments to see if folks are looking to provide comment this evening. We have had even a few people join in the last few moments as well, so we will wait just a couple moments. So we don't have anyone with a raised hand for a question, but I'm going to have us go back a couple slides. We do, for a comment, we do have a question that has come in that I want us to answer since we're waiting. If folks do have the question, do you have a comment? So the question is whether or not construction will be broken into segments and how many segments there will be and how long in miles will each segment take in order to meet your 2032 deadline? And so the question is about construction. How many segments will there be? How long in miles will each segment take to meet the 2032 deadline? So I think that's Bruce. So Bruce, I'm going to turn that over to you while we wait if there's any comments that do come in.
Thank you, Jenna. So the backbone pipeline, which showed blue on the figure, goes from Carson to the Irwindale area. That's approximately 40 miles. And then from that location, there's up to about 20 miles more. And that pipeline will be built in a number of reaches, in a number of segments, if you will. And that has not been determined yet. So we will be determining that over probably the next year or so. And the treatment plant will be located only at the AWT will be located at the Joint Water Pollution Control Plant. And that could be one contract, it might be more. And there may be some other treatment facilities located in satellite plants in the San Gabriel Valley or at Weymouth, but the extent of those has not been determined yet and will be included as part of the EIR.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bruce, for that answer. And thank you for the question that has come in. There was a follow-up, Bruce, so stay on the line. So does the design for all 40 miles, will that be completed by 2024 when you start construction? So will design be complete for all the miles by construction?
So construction design will start 23, 24. Construction won't start till after that. The first construction will probably be in the Carson area because the city council has already authorized us for the proposed alignment. But it will be constructed, most of it probably between 25 and 31, so that it needs to be online by the time we start testing in 2032. So it's spread over a number of years.
Great. Thank you so much, Bruce, and thank you for the questions that have come in. I want to pause again for the folks who are just joining us here. We are in an opportunity to provide scoping comments now. We had a Q&A session before and a question just came in. So if you are interested in providing a comment at this evening's meeting, you can use the raise hand feature, or if you're a phone call-in user, *9 as well. I think we're going to hang out here for the next 10 minutes or so, and longer, as long as scoping comments are coming in. So I just want to let folks know that we'll be here as if folks do have comments that they want to provide. So we'll be here on the line, and we've appreciated this opportunity to share information and chat with folks as well. And I'm just going to go back to questions as they're coming in, and comments are not. So another question has come in, and it's a question on wastewater availability. So I think, Bruce, this is over to you. With current water conservation efforts, do you anticipate wastewater availability to be an issue in meeting program needs?
That is a very good question, and I'm going to pass that to Ray Tremblay.
Hi, can you see me there, Jenna? Yeah, my name is Ray Tremblay with the sanitation districts. And the short answer is yes. The project entails use of about 2/3 of the reclaimed water that's currently made available at the plant. So we have plenty of water for this project. We do anticipate some additional reductions in our flows over time due to conservation, however.
Great. Thank you so much, Ray, for that response there. And I'd encourage any other questions that do come in, we'll respond to those here too. Okay, I want to review the next steps and timeline for folks. We'll stay on for public comment just for folks who are with us this evening. I want to make sure we have the opportunity to talk through what's coming next. So we talked about the EIR schedule and what we're anticipating for this EIR. And I did want to note, I mentioned earlier, there will be other additional virtual public scoping meetings. We'll have one on Tuesday, October 18th at 12. The link will be in the chat. It's also online. On Thursday, October 27th at 7 p.m. and on Saturday, October 29th at 10 a.m. So we'll have a few more options for virtual scoping meetings. And I also wanted to note that we will be in the community as well, sharing about this EIR process, the environmental impact report process. So we'll be at the Water Fest at the Arcadia County Park, Saturday, October 15th. At Water Harvest, the Edward C. Little Water Recycling Facility in El Segundo on Saturday, October 22nd. And at one of my favorite places, the Long Beach Uptown Farmers Market on Atlantic Ave and East 46th Street on Thursday, November 3rd. So we'll be out in the community sharing more information about this, as well as having opportunities for future verbal and oral scoping comments. So I want to thank folks who have joined us. I'm actually just going to hang out here in the how to provide your comments if folks do have comments that do come in. And we'll wait for those to come through for a few moments here. And I just want to thank folks for joining us. Another question, a couple other questions have come in, so I'm going to make sure that we respond to these questions that have come in. This question, there's a question that is coming through the question and answer pod here. And the question is, will CM be a part of the PM RFP? If so, what does that look like for the Metropolitan? And so I'm going to turn that, I'm guessing, to Bruce. And Bruce, if you can talk through what the acronyms for CM, maybe construction and maintenance, and then the PM RFP, and then what does it look like for Metropolitan?
So CM, I believe, is construction management, and PM would be program management. We currently have a program management RFP out on the street. Proposals are due November 9th. And just to make long story short, we haven't decided whether construction management will be part of the program manager RFP, or excuse me, tasks or not. It is part of the RFP. We're asking for experience, but we have some tasks that we know we're going to do, and others that we're looking for consultant experience, and it'll be determined later whether we'll implement those tasks or not.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Bruce, for that question. I think there's a follow-up question. If construction management folks will be precluded if they joined at program management. And so this question is, I'll turn that over to you, Bruce.
I think that's a good question. The RFP for the program manager prohibits doing any design or construction if you are part of the program manager team. But that's a good question for our attorneys, and if you like, you should add in a question and we'll respond to that. And there will be a mandatory pre-proposal meeting, but I don't have that date in front of me.
All right, thank you so much, Bruce. And it seems I'll ask if folks do have questions about the environmental impact report process or the Pure Water program as well. So if there's any other questions that come in and comments, and I'd say questions about future RFPs or current RFPs should be conducted through that process too. Okay, and again, I'll wait a few moments if there's any participants who have joined us who would like to provide comment this evening. We'll be on the line for a little bit to see if there's any public comment that does come in. I do want to appreciate folks' questions this evening and for joining to learn more about this process. Okay, well, I'm going to move us to to this last slide here, just as a reminder about our future events that I just talked about. And a thank you for this evening for joining us. We appreciate your time here. We appreciate your time here this evening. And as we close, I'm going to call back our Metropolitan team. There's a question that came through the chat and not through the Q&A that I think is a great question as we close. How can citizens, neighbors keep this process moving forward? So there's a question of how citizens, neighbors, the community can help keep this process moving forward.
I can help with that one, Jenna. This is Ruth. Hi. So thank you for that great question. There's lots of opportunities. The number one thing I would say is share information about this program with your friends, your family. Let them know that it's happening and how important it is to our water future. We have information available on our website. You can attend one of our community events. These are all great events too. Waterfest is hosted by the Upper San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District. It's this Saturday from 10 to 2. I will be there. Some of my colleagues will be at the event next weekend, which is hosted by the West Basin Municipal Water District. And so we hope to see you at one of these events too, and you can learn more there, get handouts about the program. We also have a demonstration facility that we operate in Carson located at the site of the Sanitation District's Joint Water Pollution Control Plant. And we offer tours of that facility for schools, for community groups, for technical groups, for anyone who's interested. We offer them both in person and virtually, and we actually have a public virtual tour coming up next month. So if you're interested in joining that, please do so. We invite you to attend, or if you'd like to sign up for a in-person tour, we would love to see you in person as well too. And then we post on social media. So if you follow Metropolitan or the LA County Sanitation Districts, please share, whatever to just share the information about the program again with your network.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rupam, for sharing that information and for providing more details on how folks can join. I see a link for the tours, which are great, in the chat as well. We want to thank you all for being with us here this evening, and we look forward to talking with you again in the future.